guys, I'm gonna go ahead and show you around my Photoshop file of my book. So I used a template to make the specific size that I needed. So you have to configure the pages. You're gonna configure your size, and then the spine will be determined by how many pages you use. Also, in that template, you'll select your paper color. Not that it'll matter here, but for your inside it will. So here you see my template. You see the red area. The red area all the way to the outermost edge is going to be the bleed. So this line in between, in the middle of the red, is going to be your trim. So you're going to go all the way to the outermost edge with your background, and I'll kind of show you that. It'll be really it'll come in really sharp, so I can kind of fade the opacity, that way you can kind of see both. But here's the full cover, and then as you can see, as I turn it on and off, it goes all the way to the edge with the background. And then the titles still stay in the title safe ranges. And then you're going to plan in your spine as well. So the question was, where do you center your text logo on the front cover? So you see here in the area here that it's already, even on the template, it's pretty much centered right there where the center will be. You could go, even in Photoshop, you could go even further and to drop guidelines. That way you can stay within, so you would just mark off the center region, and then you could just put your logo and stuff right on top of that. So you'll see, let me go ahead and collapse some of this so that and then some of this, as you see, some of it is active and some of it isn't. You don't really need to worry about that stuff too much, but what you really want to do is just kind of get a note of where everything is at. So see, this is a really good way of seeing that. So with the lowered opacity on that, you're able to see this is exactly where they wanted you to place the ISBN. And then you can actually create this with a code generator. I'll be able to paste the code generator that I use, and as you can see here, the text goes from safety zone to safety zone. And then even here, it is in the safety zone, and then it's centered. So your center is going to be in the center of these crop lines, and even more so in the center of the safety zone there. Just the same over here as well. The back cover logo is centered in the center as well, and then so is the text, and then that is within the safety zone. So you just need to make sure that you're in the safety zones. And then the same thing with the spine. You want to make sure that your text is not going over your spine area. And then your spine itself, the whole entire spine, I just did black. So you want to use a relevant color in your scheme here. Cool. Well, I hope that was relevant. I hope that answered some of the questions and concerns that some people had. In various forms of design, you do it the same exact way, where you build the background all the way to the outermost edge. There's the trim line, and you still want to use the interior of that as your safety zones, and then you're going to center to that safety zone. Cool. So here they are, side by side. You can see some of the nuances that I was talking about and why you want to go all the way to the outer edge of the bleed there. So here you can see on the front cover very easily, so the quotations here, you'll be able to see the outermost edge there. So it cropped real close to, so even went into the safety zone a little bit. So that's why you're definitely going to want to go beyond your trim to here with your background. But then, you're definitely going to want to keep your text within that safety zone too, because had it been a little over, that ending quotation would have been chopped out. And then the same thing here. So, we flirted with the safe title zones a little bit, and then you could see right here it went over onto the spine a little bit. So if I was very nitpicky, I could always redo that and send it back in, but the spine made it exactly where it was supposed to be because it has these guidelines. So they on their side, that's where it folds. So I would assume it's easy to kind of get the spine on this perfect bound, but you can see some of the nuances that we were discussing. You can definitely tell. So they cut kind of close there, and then up here with this area here. So if they cut real close there, you would assume that they might cut real close there, but they didn't. You see, it made a gap there, which is is fine, but that's why you have to plan for all of this in the design. That's why you have to take your background all the way to the outermost edge, and then you definitely want to so in some parts of the design we flirted with the safety zone. So just to be super safe, like the logo at the bottom was just perfect in there, right? So but the one here, you may want to kind of come in a little more. So like instead of doing one long sentence, I could have possibly done a sentence and then kind of wrapped it in the middle there, and then use that area there. But you're gonna want to play around with these things, and this is not my first cover for this book, so I got to play around with a lot of those things in the other design as well. And then I've done a lot of print work with graphic design, so you're definitely going to want to go beyond the safety zone and beyond the trim zone, all the way to the outermost edge with your background, so that way you're not messing with, so if you didn't, let's say you just went to there, the trim zone, anything beyond that would be white, and then just like you're seeing here, the variations of where they're going to crop it, you could end up with white border right there, or a white border right there, just kind of depending on where you're going with your zone. So make sure you're taking your background all the way to the outermost zone there. This is the final cover that I sent in for the cover. I'll just leave this here while I kind of answer a few other things. So there is a template with a bleed, and there's a template without a bleed. Since you're doing all of this customly, I would advise that you use the bleed, and then do it all the way to the outermost edge, like I've been explaining. Because if you use the template without the bleed, it kind of automatically does that crop that I was saying, and then you might end up with that white border that I was talking about. So in order to get the saturation right, I rendered the image locally a ton of times, like maybe upward to 10 to 12 or more times, to get the image perfect as I wanted it. A lot of the renders earlier on, and in different renders of it, it just didn't come out saturated enough on a lot of the graphical regions. So I was able to fix all of that and get it perfectly before I sent it off. So there wasn't a ton of back and forth with the publisher about the quality of the cover. Once I was able to proof it on my side, it came out perfect on the other side.